那几天？一天而已啊。几点去？
Law is it? What area of law is it?
那边啊，
Guys, can you close the door, please? Right, we are back to class negligence, huh? Right, we are back to negligence, but there is a slight difference here. Please take note, class. There is a slight difference. It says advised Pedro and his mother of any statutory and common law rights. Statutory. What is contemplated here? What are they thinking of? Statutory and common law. Huh? So class, you've got two things here. Let's look at first of all common law. Huh? Common law here will be negligence. Huh? Right? So you notice that they have a duty of care. Right? This one class, factual, foreseeable, we are going to go very fast. Huh? Because you know this already. Class proximity. This one, what's the connection between the victim and class here? She wants to sue the
employee 啊。
Huh? What's the connection you have between the consumer and the manufacturer?
Petrol.
Now this one is Donahue and Stevenson. Right, so you can say there is proximity. So we are looking at Pedro first. Huh? Right?
诶，那个 Donegal 跟 Stevenson commercial 是吗？
Okay. There is no floodgates here. Sorry. No policy here. No policy. So we go to the next one, breach. Look at the standard.
Beach.
The first one you look at is level of skill. Now this one, they have fallen short. Huh? Manufacturer has fallen short. Right? Then likelihood class of injury is high. Seriousness is also higher. And then class cost of prevention. This one you could say that basically there's high risk, high cost. Huh? They say they cannot make it, completely rat proof. Huh? Cost of prevention, high risk, may be high cost. Preventive measures must still be taken. So it's no argument to say, look, we have no money, it's going to cost us, when you know that, this is a very high risk. Okay, next class, but for test. That is fine. Injury, not too remote. You can foresee that basically people who consume your drinks could become sick. Alright? So, here, Fizzy Panto is liable to Pedro. Plus here. Are we clear with this, class? Any problem? No issues, right? What about Pedro's mother? Now, class, Pedro's mother doesn't suffer from any depression or anything. Just that she becomes, she has to lose some money, months of wages, loss of wages.
2 months of wages.
Is this foreseeable? Is it foreseeable that if Pedro becomes sick, his mother will take care of him by taking time off?
No.
Plus the difficult part. Plus if Pedro is an adult, for example, when we assume Pedro is an adult, this loss of wages is too remote. Right? So mother's loss of wages class, this loss of mother's wages, right?
我们可以写他 assume 他是 children 啊。
You can't claim this.
Now the loss is okay.
Right? So you have to say this. Right now, the next part of it. Is there any statutory right for either of them? And here, class, when it is statutory right, now please bear in mind. Right? We're looking at the sale of goods act. Now this is a contractual right, class. So you're asking about statutory right. Plus, did Pedro buy the drink? Does Pedro buy the drink? Answer is, who bought the drink?
Jenny.
Huh?
Jenny.
That's right. Jenny bought the drink, not Pedro. So class Pedro has no rights here.
It's a third party.
Right? So he has no rights.
Yes.
Question class. Can Jenny sue the retailer?
Yes. Cannot.
Can she sue the retailer? You sold me a drink. That's not good. Can she sue? What do you all think?
Sue the manufacturer already.
What's the problem here? Plus, she can argue there is breach of section 14
那个 condition 啊。
2, 3, satisfactory quality
Yes.
and fitness of purpose. She can argue this. She can say, there's a breach of satisfactory quality. The drink which you sold me contained a rat. What's her problem, class? Think of it common sensically. What's her problem? She can sue, then what happens? Can she claim? Can she claim? Problem is, she can't claim. You know why? Let me explain to you. There is a breach here, breach present. But she suffered 2 loss. Pedro, the third party class. Suffered the loss. Can you sue for a third party class? Here the problem is one of privity of contract.
Cannot.
Pedro has no privity contract with retailer. Right? So that's just a general answer. His problem is that, he didn't buy the drink. So he can't sue under SOGA. He's going to have a tough time. She can complain of satisfactory quality and fitness for purpose breached, but then she did not suffer any damage or loss. So thus that's your answer for this question. So it's quite long, as you can see, quite a bit which you have to cover. Right? Right. Are you able to take down? So class, the most important is the thinking, alright, the steps involved. Duty of care, breach, resulting damage, and finally the mother class. The mother, there is no depression, no psychiatric claim or loss. As far as the SOGA is concerned, Pedro did not buy the drink, so he cannot sue under SOGA. Jenny can complain, but she cannot sue because she has suffered no loss. Because that's the answer for this question. Next question. Class, tell me if you have done it. Right, then I can move on with it. Try. What is this question about? So read it. That's a short one. You must know what is involved.
OK 哦，反正他还是签了那个 contract 没有写那个东西吧。
那时候到底是懂的，哦的那个是假的。
然后他签的时候他也不在 contract。
哦，可能是不懂，OK，我不会。
哇，在Sentosa嘞！什么 ？Misrepresent.
Negotiation, buying a house. Constance always wants a house, a big garden and pool, very keen. Is concerned about not being able to maintain a garden because of water restrictions. He's worried about what the local authority will say. Pong advises Constance that the land has a natural water course under the ground, which you can access via an old well. She advises there will be no problem with the local planning authority. Pong knows both these statements to be false. 3 days after discussion, Constance signs a written contract. There is no mention of all these things. 1 month later, she discovers there is no natural water course. The local planning authority will not approve any more pool installation in Sentosa. What is the question about? To ask to advise Constance on this. Can you spot the issue? Which area of law is this? Anyone? So class, if you get this wrong, it's a major problem because it's 20 marks. Which area of law is it?
Misrepresentation. Misrep.
Anyone?
Misrepresentation.
Volunteers? Area of law. So classes, one of the reasons for the failure is getting the wrong area of law. Completely wrong. Then it's very difficult to pass the student because it's totally out of point. Right? Now the first thing you notice is look at it, common law rights. So it's common law rights, it can't be sale of goods. Definitely sale of goods is outside. Okay? It can't be negligence. Nothing to do with negligence here, right? It's not contract formation. What is it then? There is a contract in place. Huh?
Misrep.
Very good. So misrepresentation is the area of law that you must look at. Right. Plus basically you're asking, can Constance set aside
我想睡觉。
claim?
快回家。
Because this is what the issue will be basically. Then you define this rep. Now you must identify a class false statements first. Right, so make sure you identify the false statements. Alright? Because there are two statements here. One is about the natural water cost. One, natural water cost underground. And the second one is about the planning approval. So, Pong said, don't worry, all this is there. There's a natural water course underground. He said planning approval will not be an issue. Right, and so on. Both of these were false. Right, now here you must exclude this class, they are not part. They are not opinions either. Why is it not opinions? So you must exclude opinion at class, they are not opinions. Why is it not opinion? Because why is it not opinion? So class, we have to look at Bissett and Wilkinson. Why is it not opinion? Because P has got special knowledge. P as owner of property has special knowledge. She already know about this class. Right? So obviously class it is not an opinion. Alright? But you cannot escape by saying what I gave was my opinion. You either know or you don't know. You apparently as the owner of the property class you know. Next. Is there inducement?
Yes. I promise.
Right? And your answer class will be yes, of course, because this is material.
Pong. Pong.
Right? Very important to her.
I call
Class.
ping pong.
The test here class is subjective. That means it's whether or not a person in the shoes of Constance will be induced, right? Okay, so here she was induced by the statements. Right? So test is subjective. There was reliance. Right? She relied on the statements and she suffered a loss. Class misrep is proven. Proven. Next, what do you do after you finish this first step? What do you do? The next thing. What do you do? Anyone? You establish the first step, there is misrepresentation. What now? The next thing. Remember my itemization just now, what did I say you must do next? In the revision slide, I tell you after you establish the ingredients, what's the next step? The types of misrep. Now you look at the types. Okay? Plus here, don't waste too much time, right? Only outline briefly. Type and remedies. Only outline. Now here, what type of misrep do you think it is? It's fraudulent, obviously. So zoom into fraudulent. Remedy class is Constance. It's fraudulent because we know she was dishonest. Right, so statements will be dishonesty. Remedy will be rescission. The next one, she can cancel the contract. Right? There are no bars. Here she's acting quickly, so we assume there are no bars. Therefore, she can cancel or get out of the contract. And claim damages. Right, so that's your answer for this part, basically. Now, is there anything else, class, that you can say? Now, how do you know it's a misrep? Class, in the first place, why did we start with misrep? Could it not be a breach of a term? Could it not be a breach of a term? Answer is no, right? Why? Because the question specifically says, if you look at paragraph 2, class, it says that these statements were false, they were not, paragraph 3, there was no written term in the contract. So you clearly know it was said during negotiation. There was nothing mentioned in the contract, therefore it cannot be a breach of contract. It's basically misrepresentation. Now, class, if there is, let's just highlight one more thing to you. If there is some verbal assurance, here there doesn't seem to be. If there is verbal assurances, please also consider collateral contracts. Right? So if there's some verbal assurance, don't worry, I assure you, I guarantee you that, then you say, apart from misrepresentation, there can also be a collateral contract. Right? So please bear this in mind. In the question, it doesn't say so now. But if in the exam you find somebody saying, I guarantee you, I assure you, there's no problem, then you have an alternative argument about collateral contracts. Right, this question is done. Next question. You must have made some finding. which law is the relevant area of law here? Sale of goods. Right? So class, this has to do with SOGA.
What's it?
Right? Now here, what sections do you think are relevant? So I'll use this side again. Right? Let's look at the area class. You have a person who is a consumer wanting to buy an MP3 player. First of all, class, you must notice that this is a B
To
C
C.
contract.
Business to consumer.
Right? So here we are asking advice. Right? What rights does the consumer have? That's your issue here, basically. So it's a business to consumer contract class, right? This, you must first say, this is a contract that comes under the sale of goods tax. Right, so because there is property transferred in the MP3 basically class is goods. Right, money paid, money consideration paid. So class, this brings it within the right SOGA. Yeah? Next, SOGA has got implied term.
Statutory term.
Now, which is the implied term that is relevant here? Which is the implied term that is relevant here? Huh? You got to get the section right, huh? Sorry, which one is it? Anyone? Is it satisfactory quality? Description. So class, here you can briefly talk about section 30, 40,
1
2
and 3.
and 3. But then the relevant provision is section 13, sale by prescription. Right? The MP3 player is not as described. Okay, that's the one, first of all, class. It's not as described. It says 1,000 songs